Welcome to The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. Here's your host, the biggest record nerd of them all, Nate Goyer.
Well, hello everyone, it's Nate. Welcome to episode 498 of The Vinyl Guide, the podcast for record collectors and music nerds. And ladies and gentlemen, the good news is I am back home. It's been a whirlwind trip to the U.S., San Francisco, Austin, Los Angeles, Santa Barbara, Santa Cruz, and now back to Sydney. All of that in just under 3 weeks. So I'm pretty tired, and all that heavy luggage filled with records exhausted me just a little bit more, but that's okay. Totally worth it. Did a lot of podcasting stuff on my trip, as well as hitting the Austin Record Fair, which was amazing. I would recommend anyone who gets the opportunity to visit that at some point, do it. It's the biggest record fair in the United States, as I understand. And wow, there was some killer stuff there, which I have been sharing on Instagram. You may have seen all the pictures of that sojourn as well. But yes, I am quite jet lagged, but happy to be back home and to get proper coffee back here in Sydney. So one of the conversations I had in the recent weeks was what I'm going to share today. Michael Gira of SWANS. Now, some of you may recollect that Michael has been on the show before, episode 198, and he's a pretty intense guy, which should come as no surprise for those of you familiar with the work of SWANS and even a cursory knowledge of the life of Michael Gira. It is quite a story. We actually talk about the possibility of him writing a book on his life today, as well as a lot of other discussion, as well as the new SWANS album, Birthing, which is available for pre-order now, younggodrecords.com. It comes out at the end of May, but I've been listening to the digital files. It is intense. I really enjoy the work of SWANS, especially in the last 10, 15 years, and the new album feels like a huge crescendo to this part of their career, which is interesting because Michael recently announced that after this album and tour cycle, he's going to dramatically shift gears. What that looks like, even he doesn't know, which he repeatedly answers today, but he also opens up on many of the rare records that SWANS releases, the physical form media, how they do the special packaging, and more. You collecting nerds, especially SWANS fans, are going to really enjoy this conversation. So before we get into the interview, I want to remind folks that we have a Patreon site, patreon.com/vinylguide or patreon.com/vinylguide, however you pronounce it. That's where you can hear this podcast without any commercials. We put up high-resolution audio files. We even put extended interviews up there quite frequently. Now, as we start to sail towards episode 500, which, as you can see, is not long off, we're going to be doing some extra special stuff up there as well. So if you've always thought about becoming a patron of the Vinyl Guide podcast, now is the time. Patreon.com/vinylguide, $5 or $10 a month or whatever you could afford is very much appreciated. And you'll get in on some of the early announcements and events and activities that we will be having to coincide with episode 500. Those of you who are new to the podcast, welcome to the show. Please follow this podcast in your podcast app and make sure you get alerted the moment a new episode comes out. All right, without further delay, let's talk to Michael Gira of SWANS. Michael, thanks for making the time. I've been filling my head full of the Birthing album the past week and a half. It's very gorgeous. Congratulations on this record. In this new album, in your mind, what does it add to the story of SWANS?
I have no idea. I don't really think like that. It's just, we do one record, we tour, I write songs, we do another record. I don't really think that way. But this is the final sort of highly orchestrated, large sweeps of sound record that I'm going to do. And the tour that we're going to do will be the final time that we work in that way as well. Going forward after this album and the resultant tour, things are going to be much simpler, and I look forward to that. But I want to finish on a high note here.
Well, you certainly have, if that's the plan. How long have you been in the mindset that this will be the end cap of this part of your career?
Oh, I knew it as when we started recording that it would be the final statement, I guess, of this phase.
Are you clear on what you're moving towards, or are you still forming the idea?
No, I have no idea, actually. I'm starting to write songs, but I have no idea what kind of overall approach I'm going to take. I know that it probably will I'll work with 2 or 3 people and keep it simple that way, and we'll see what happens.
And you've been quite prolific over the last decade, releasing double or triple albums every few years. Do you think you'll keep up with that same pace in the next phase?
I highly doubt it.
Okay. Slower, faster, more or less? What are your thoughts?
None of the above.
You know things have to change. You're not sure what it is, though.
Yeah, I mean, like I say, I'm writing songs, but how they're going to be arranged, I don't know right now. I don't want to think about it really because I owe it to this current venture to give everything to this before I switch my mind into a different track.
Okay. And when you've given it a bit of a time frame, and there's a lot of shows coming up. There's your sets with Kristen Hoff, as well as full Swans band. Looks like throughout the second half of the year. Are you looking at shows beyond October as well? For example, internationally, taking the band on this last victory lap.
I certainly don't view it as a victory, but we'll be touring the United States in October, as you say, and then after that we'll be going to Europe, and then there's some discussion in the next year of coming back to the States and going back to Europe, but I'm not sure that's going to happen. We'll see.
Okay, all right. I'm hoping Australia fits in there somehow.
Yeah, it's such a slog. I mean, it's like every time I've been there, I'm just getting over jet lag as I'm leaving. And the jet lag is so existentially crushing that it's really hard to even consider myself ambulant.
I know how you feel all too well. Well, hopefully we'll put that in the universe and maybe they'll deliver. The new album, Birthing, right now there's a triple vinyl or double CD available for pre-order. There's a bonus DVD of a concert film and the documentary. That's a pretty astounding package. Is this something that all these elements came together for this particular album, or was it a matter of lucky timing that the concert film and documentary were ready when the new album was?
Both. The person that did the Swans filming, Marco Porzia, he did the Swans documentary, Where Does the Body End? And he traveled with us a bit and filmed, and there was really no concept of what was going to happen with it. But then as we were doing this album, I asked him to go ahead and just make another document of the tour, which he did to excellent effect. And it so happens that I had done a solo tour in Europe the year previous to the last tour, and this excellent filmmaker, Christopher Nicholson, in Norway, filmed one of my shows, and he made a really beautiful document, and I'm rather pleased with it. So we just thought we would include that as well.
Oh, okay. A single show, that is just one show beginning to end.
Yes.
In these particular shows, in your mind, what constitutes a good show, an average show, and a difficult show?
Do you mean with this the large lineup with
Yes. Yeah.
with 7 people on stage? Yeah. Well, when the music plays itself, and we're just sort of puppets that the music is playing, and all of us, including the audience, hopefully, are led into a sort of consciousness that you wouldn't normally experience, heightened, I suppose. Something about the resonance of electric guitars and volume and the kind of rhythms that we employ have the nascent ability to lead one into a different place. And that's sort of what we search for. It doesn't always happen, of course. Sometimes we're just playing the music and it could be good, I guess, but other times it's truly elevating. And that's what we look for. When it's successful, that's what happens.
Is there a theme or a constant that you've noticed in the gigs that go over particularly well versus the others?
No, it's random. It has to do, I think, largely with the ambient sound in the venue. When we can hear the music resonating in the room, it really helps things because there's these overtones that occur with our long sustained chords that are really like choirs of angels, you know. And when those are swirling around, then they lift us up as well. There's this unfortunate tendency in modern venues to completely deaden the sound, of thinking that that's going to help things, but I loathe that personally.
Okay. So leveraging the natural acoustics and as different as, and sometimes as unpredictable as they are, that's like another instrument as well.
Oh, yeah.
Are there particular theaters that you know are generally better at delivering than others?
You've asked the wrong person. I have a terrible memory. I'm sure that someone else in the band might know, but
okay,
sorry.
That's all right. The set lists, do they change every night? How do they evolve over the course of a tour?
Well, typically the music begins in a sort of rudimentary fashion, and gradually the pieces, some of them aren't really songs, they're pieces, I guess. They begin to transform and ultimately lengthen, and we find avenues within the music in how to push it further. And when we do that, then that might lead to something else. And before you know it, you have a piece that's 82 minutes long, which happened on the last tour. And it was quite a marathon, quite an endurance test to be able to do it. But we did that. And a couple of the other songs ended up being 25, 30 minutes long. And before you know it, we have a 3-hour set, and we're just sort of like in the meat grinder within it.
Yeah, the Swans sets are known for being quite intense. I imagine it would take a lot out of the band, especially after a 3-hour show, and especially the ones that elevate.
It's truly exhausting. You find the energy when you're on stage, but afterwards you don't have any bones in your body. You're just this limp sack of flesh. And I suppose one of the reasons for my switching the mode of working is that I'm 71 and doing this is really quite difficult. I could still do it, and I will, but who knows? Maybe I'll collapse with a heart attack on stage.
For what I'm hearing in that is there may be a more deliberate shift towards recorded works, perhaps less on touring going forward. Is that fair?
I don't know. I mean, I'm going to do material that's more with more emphasis on the words and the singing. Not that I'll downplay the orchestration, but I'm decidedly not going to go into these long crescendo evolving sound miasmas anymore. Which is just something that came naturally. I didn't really set out with it in mind, but as we start to play, the music kind of demands the way that we've been working.
Playing music off the album Birthing, it to me listening to the album and comparing with some of the more recent works, it's very heavy. Again, very gorgeous and cinematic. Are the songs off Birthing, are they heavier to play than the recent music of your career? Is it a little bit more exhausting than earlier works?
Well, we had a long hiatus, of course, like everyone else with the pandemic. But previous to that, we were doing long, exhausting sets around the time of The Glowing Man, To Be Kind. So I don't know how different that is. It's just really the music, like I say, the music plays us rather than the reverse. And you really don't have a choice but to follow it. And your body suffers the consequences.
Was the approach to Birthing different than other albums in recent times?
Well, I decided while we were in the midst of the last touring cycle, which lasted exactly 1 year, that the songs had evolved to a certain extent. And we were playing new songs on tour, the songs that you hear on the album, that they had evolved to such an extent that it would be a true shame to finish the tour and then go in the studio and try to create that feel. So what we did was at the end of a European tour, just the next day, we went into a studio in Berlin and recorded the songs as we had been performing them live. And then I returned to the studio 3 months later or something and started doing overdubs on them. But what you hear, with the exception of a couple of the songs, were what we were playing in concert.
And freshly recorded. You said literally the next day you moved into the studio to capture them.
Yeah, that was a kind of precipitous undertaking because we were so exhausted. It was really difficult, but we managed to do it. And then, with overdubs and things, it still had the kind of urgency that you might have live. Mm-hmm. But it was, it worked out well. I give you an example of how the songs develop. On the song Birthing, there's a passage where I'm actually singing a quote unquote song in there. And that's how the song was written on my acoustic guitar. And I had some chord ideas for an intro that would be, I don't know, in my mind at the time, a couple minutes or something. And then I had a basic notion of how the outro would go. But as it happened live, the so-called intro was, I don't know what it is, like 20 minutes. And then there's this little piece of a song, and then there's another 5-minute outro. Mm-hmm. So it just gradually, through playing it live, it became this autonomous being.
Mm-hmm. The last time you and I spoke, which is pre-pandemic, you were talking about your process for songwriting, which is strumming on an acoustic guitar. You feel it in your gut. You get the skeleton of the structure together, but then the band takes it in all sorts of different directions. Is that still your way of writing, or has that evolved in the last 5 years or so? Hey there, audiophiles. If you're seeking stylish furniture to showcase your stereo and record collection, well, look no further than SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Sidetracked Workshop designs extraordinarily elegant record cabinets and consoles that add sophistication and panache to your music hobby. Handcrafted in the good old USA in the vinyl-loving city of Portland, Oregon, Sidetracked Workshop's designs are a music lover's dream. Made with real walnut veneered wood and brass accents, these gorgeous designs add class and taste to the record room and ship fully assembled and ready to enjoy. Just check out the designs for yourself at SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Look, you spend thousands of dollars on records. Don't keep them in a crate, and don't risk your records on those feeble wooden pegs from IKEA. Your music deserves the dignity of Sidetracked Workshop. That's SidetrackedWorkshop.com. Elegant solutions for the vinyl lifestyle. Oh, and hey, record nerds, don't forget to clean your records with the very best and safest record cleaner, the Groove Washer. Make your records look and sound their very best and store them with confidence using the new Groove Washer Groove Guard record sleeves. You gotta try this out. It makes a huge difference to the quality of your vinyl experience. Ask for the Groove Washer by name at your local record store and accept no substitutes. Or head over to groovewasher.com and use discount code VINYLGUIDE10.
All hail the Groove Washer.
That's groovewasher.com, discount code VINYLGUIDE10. The last time you and I spoke, which is pre-pandemic, you were talking about your process for songwriting, which is strumming on an acoustic guitar. You feel it in your gut. You get the skeleton of the structure together, but then the band takes it in all sorts of different directions. Is that still your way of writing, or has that evolved in the last 5 years or so?
No, that's the way. When I'm writing the songs, I often put my ear down to the sound hole in the guitar, and I can hear like a symphony in there with the way that the notes are resonating and harmonics and overtones. But then, so I have this notion of how much it could be lifted. But then I come in and play with people, and they, have their own personalities, but they're very dedicated to making this music as fulfilling an experience as it can be. So they begin to build it up, and then through kind of extemporaneous editing, I direct things, or challenge things, or move things in a further direction, and the songs gradually build like that. Often on stage, I'm directing the band as we're going, and I don't know, people seem to intuit what I mean when I wag my tongue at them, or when I, because I'm using both hands on the guitar, or I put the guitar down and gesture, and things just build that way. It's all like we're in the midst of this whirlpool and trying to wrangle it into some kind of shape.
Yeah. It's a process that's worked for you for many years. Do you have any superstitions around your creative process? Anything you'd like to see in place as you go through that?
A good song. That's the first thing. Is a good song, good words, and a good basic chord structure, and everything flows from there.
Okay. Is it the same guitar you use? Are there things that you set up for yourself as you go through that writing process that are important to you?
Yeah, for better or worse. I mean, I use the same shitty old Guild acoustic guitar. I mean, it's really a horrible instrument at this point. I mean, it has more wolf notes on it than pure notes, and it's but for some reason I'm addicted to it. And I'll probably use it till I die, and that's what I write on, and that's what I play live now. I used to switch to electric guitar live, but I just decided to forego that.
It's like Willie Nelson's trigger guitar become part of
It's
you.
something like that, yeah. I mean, his guitar, I'm sure. I mean, you can see it has this huge gaping hole in it, right? I mean, so it can't be resonating too well, but it's just something about it. I guess that is the superstition, is that I'm attached to this thing that has soaked up my sweat for the last, I don't know, 3 decades. So I just use it.
Do you have a name for it?
Absolutely not.
What are some of the themes of birthing?
Well, I don't really get into explicating the words. I'll leave that up to the listener.
Okay. In the past, you've had to edit your albums to fit onto a vinyl record. Did that happen with birthing?
Yes, in a way. In the past, what we would do is we would, if we had a 45-minute song, we would just fade down one side and fade up on the next side.
Mm-hmm.
And on this one, I intentionally edited the songs so they were no more than, say, I think one might be 21 minutes, but that's very long for a side of vinyl. So I tried to keep it so that one piece would fit on a side.
All right, but everything that is, for example, on the CD or on streaming will be on the vinyl version?
For the most part, there's a couple songs that I had to shorten from the digital version to fit on the vinyl, but only by a couple minutes.
Yeah, and that's just necessary because of the limitations of vinyl. Is vinyl important to you? Like your works, they come out on record. Our audience is a lot of record collectors and physical form media fans. Is vinyl important to you? Does it play a role in your life at all these days?
I would have to be honest and say that listening to music does not play a role in my life these days. On occasion, I'll go through spurts where I listen to a lot, but I don't own a record player, a vinyl record player, and the CD player that I was using for a long time broke, and I don't have any way of listening that way. And I bought a new car, which of course these days doesn't have a CD player, so I don't listen that way, and I refuse to hook up fucking iTunes to my phone and do that. So I really don't listen to much music, to be honest. I find that my ears are so exhausted that it's really hard to listen without having an anxiety attack.
Fair enough. The materials and aesthetics of the albums, the Young Gods releases, not only the records, but the CDs, they have a similar design, this kind of chipboard material, these textures, even the illustrations. It even aligns to the literary works. The knot looks very similar as well. Very well crafted and a signature style of Young God Records. Are you involved in the design and logistics? Like, what's your role in the manufacturing of these packages and box sets?
Oh, I art direct everything. It's all conceived by me. Swans has been art directed by me from the very beginning. Mm-hmm. The only album I relinquished, unfortunately, a little bit of control was our major label album, The Burning World. Mm-hmm. Everything else I've been directing since the beginning. It's just how I want it. I want the records to have a certain look, and actually, as you mentioned, a certain tactile quality, and that's just important to me.
Yeah, it feels like a craftsman has really kind of had their hands on one of these releases. Is that a signature style that will continue into the next phase, do you think?
I'm not sure. Maybe not. But I will certainly be the one directing the art.
Mm-hmm. There's several packages that Young Gods has provided that are incredibly, extraordinarily unique. The gate, what is this with the pliers? Assuming that's your art direction, how do those ideas get developed? And is that a process you enjoy? Developing the physical and manufacturing?
Well, at one time I suppose I did, but it's just too much now. But for the gate we made I don't remember how many box sets we made, but they involved a physical pair of pliers, which I took a paint stick pen, gold pen, and colored them with gold paint, and then I got a small black marble, which the plier was gripping, and crazy glued that together so that the plier was gripping on this marble. And then we embedded that in some AstroTurf inside a handmade box, which I had contracted out. And I forget what other curios went inside that box set, but that was quite an undertaking.
It certainly was. I mean, that's got to be using a different muscle. That is the What Is This box set. It's got to be using a different creative muscle than music, design, and even how to make these things.
Yeah, it was an endeavor, that's for sure. Mm-hmm. And the knot, what are you talking? What was the other one you mentioned with that was with the pliers? What is this? Yeah. And then there was one, and then I usually I'll do a rudimentary drawing, and often I'll send it to my friend Nicole Boydis, who's she was a medical illustrator for a long time. Her draftsmanship is superb. So I'll have her draw a pair of pliers or a hammer or something like that, and she also is a printmaker, so sometimes she'll print the physical sleeve that these handmade CDs go into.
Do you guys do local silk screening, or is that all manufactured off-site?
Yeah, I have someone else contract that out, the silk screening.
Got it. Okay. And different projects, for example, a recent one that came out of Young Gods was the Thank You To, a limited vinyl pressing, 80 copies. Those were created specifically for top contributors to the Beggar LP?
Yes. And what we did then was I took their names and I just sort of recited them over a ambient piece that we performed, and they would have the gift of having their name in a piece of music, and that was a way of thanking them.
Well, that's very unique, very very innovative. And then you didn't just make
Well, you know, at one time I don't know where I found the energy for this, but there was, I don't know how many people, but I wrote a rudimentary, but I wrote a song for specific people. So say it was Joe Blow, I would write a little song about Joe Blow, and I performed it here at home and recorded it, and then that was their gift.
Mm-hmm.
Was a song I wrote with about them, and not never having met them, but
again, people who would contribute to crowdfunding campaigns for building these albums. So that was part of the thank you in the past. And this one in particular was on vinyl, so just pressing 80 copies and sending them out, that's pretty unique and limited.
Yeah. Well, you know, we've been doing these what's now called crowdfunding since about the year 2000. We did them for my group Angels of Light, and I just had a realization that, you know, frankly, we're never going to sell 100,000 records, and so we're never going to generate enough money to record in the fashion that I think the music deserves. So we had a certain amount of people that really care about the music. So I thought, why not tap into them and let them become involved, and they could help finance these records, which I believe anyway are produced to a kind of high standard, rather than us have to go in and record the whole thing in a couple of days or something.
No, it's a well-run model. And again, it brings people who want to be close to the music even closer.
Yeah. I mean, you have to be careful. I mean, you don't want people to have the assumption that they have a say in how the music goes, you know, but it is, you know, it's all of goodwill anyway. So it works out.
And those sort of connections, you think those will continue? Do you enjoy doing those sort of things? One-offs for top tier fans, that sort of thing. Is that something you enjoy and think will continue going forward?
Frankly, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if I enjoy it or not. It's just I have to do the work. It's what I was made to do. I have to make music, or I'll just be a shell. So I have to do it. Otherwise, I'm not really alive. So I just figure out a way to do it. And fortunately, this model, as you say, works, and it's able to finance the recordings, and I'm able to pay the musicians with whom I work fairly, and, you know, make a living through touring and selling records. So it's just something I did by necessity.
Mm-hmm. You've really built up Swans over the last several years with the cast of musicians to really develop some incredible works. What do you think you'll miss most about leaving this phase behind?
I don't know yet, but as I mentioned, the intense elation that one experiences when these ever rising crescendos happen in the live setting is really something that can't be equaled in other ways in life. It may be through truly giving and spiritual sex with someone you love. It might be a analogy, but
mm-hmm.
I don't know that I'll be entering into that world again.
Mm-hmm. You've authored several books. Is that something you'll continue to pursue?
I don't have any ideas for fiction at the current moment. One of my children has asked me to write an autobiography, but I have a lot of qualms about that because I don't really think that my life is deserving of that. So unless I can come up with a way of writing fiction, then I don't think I will be writing any more prose.
That's interesting because that you don't feel comfortable with your story. Again, my words, not yours, where I would suggest that many others would think you've had an outstanding life and would be eager to understand a little bit more of your thought process and what's behind the curtain.
It just seems sort of egotistical to me to think that it's worth anything in and of itself. The most important thing to me is the work, is the music and some of the fiction, I suppose. But that's the most important thing. And it's not about me. It's a thing in itself. It's not about Michael Gira telling you how he feels ever, almost. It's I create a situation and I'm inside of it, and there's room for other people to come in.
Sure. But for example, future artists could be able to find some breadcrumb trails from your experience to perhaps, take their own path.
Well, I'm under no obligation to feed them.
I guess that's my way of saying I'd love to read that book.
Well, thanks. But I mean, and also, as I alluded earlier, I have a terrible memory. I always have had. It's, in my defense, it's not just my age or the fact that I drank so much throughout my life until, a decade ago. It's just I've always had a terrible memory. I joke with friends that it's like I'm like a tape machine that's on auto erase as it plays. That's how my life has always been.
Do you feel pressure to develop art, for example, making up for lost time? Or you mentioned earlier you're now in your 70s. There is a bit of a shelf life for each of us. Do you feel the need or the pressure to be able to put things out while you still can?
Yeah, I do. But the more important thing is to finally get it right. Is to make something that has a unassailable internal logic and deserves to exist on its own, well beyond me. And I frankly don't really think that I've ever done that. Maybe someday I will. We'll see.
That's a very high bar, Michael.
Yeah.
In your mind, how close does birthing get to that expectation?
Well, I loved it. And I, in the process of listening to it while we were mastering it, and then listening to it after it was mastered, and kind of I'm always looking for problems with it or ways that it could be improved, or also ideas in it that could lead to new ways of working. But in the process of listening to it hundreds of times, of course, as it was being made, not to mention the songs being performed hundreds of times live and performing them solo and then by myself here in my room. At the point of mastering, I was truly enamored with it, and I thought, oh, this is really, really good. And then I reached a certain point where it's like I don't know if you see a cartoon where suddenly the blood drains from someone's face, and they're just this colorless figure. It did that, and now to me, it just sounds like information. It has no resonance whatsoever to me when I listen to it now. Unfortunately, it has something to do with examining it so closely and critically that eventually it just gives up and dies.
And is that like over familiarity, boredom, a mixture?
I don't know. I guess I figured it all out, you know. I know every single second in the record. What I did, it's obsessively, which is a habit I have, is when a record's near completion and then after it's just been completed, I will lie awake in bed at night and I will play the record in my head, the whole thing. And I can hear everything. I know every single second in this 2-hour thing. And I don't know, maybe after you've done that enough, it just is kind of, it's desanguinated.
Mm-hmm. Quite for me, when I listen to music, the goosebumps are never sweeter than the first time I've heard the song. It's never as fun as the first surprise. And that's,
yeah, I guess so. Yeah.
And does your mind go to things like, oh, what could I do different? What could I, you get so deep into the construct of the music that you can't step back and hear the piece for what it is?
Something like that. But it's also, I just think I've got to do better next time. That's what I'm always thinking. Speaking of familiarity, I mean, who doesn't know Dazed and Confused by Led Zeppelin, right?
Right.
But I mean, I listened to it contemporaneously when it came out, and I was attracted to it. But recently, before my CD player broke, and before I got a new car, I started listening to the early Led Zeppelin quite a bit, and I was just totally blown away. I just absolutely just think that it's absolutely amazing music. Despite the fact the lyrics are a bit jejune, I guess. I just was just enthralled and amazed at how good it was, particularly that song.
It's funny you bring up Led Zeppelin because that's the example that I've used. The first time you hear Stairway to Heaven, it's magnificent. And then every time after that, it can start to get a little too familiar. But then you have a distance of a decade or 2 decades and you come back to it and it can be fresh again.
Yeah. I just think, I think, Led Zeppelin were fantastic. They were all tremendous musicians. But Jimmy Page is like a living, avatar of sound. It's just incredible. His guitar playing, I don't care about his chops at all, but it's just so lyrical. I mean, he's the singer of the band, basically. It's just so incredible, the sound and the lyricism in his playing. It's just beautiful.
Well, it looks like you'll have to get that CD player fixed, Michael.
Yeah, I'm going to get it's hard to find a little portable CD player for a car. I have this new car with all these gizmos on it, and I really don't want that. I just want to put a CD on. So. But yeah, I do.
Well, Michael, I know we've got to wrap up here. I really do appreciate you spending the time here with us. The new album, Birthing, to me, I think it's absolutely gorgeous. And I would encourage the listeners to hop up to Young God Records and grab themselves. There's a 3 LP version, triple vinyl, and a double CD set. Each of them comes with the DVD of the concert film and the documentary. And I believe these copies are signed as well. And it's a pretty outstanding package. Again, it goes very much in line with what we've come to expect with Swans, and even some surprises in there as well. So, Michael, thanks for coming on the show, and maybe we'll see you in Australia at some point.
That would be nice. I'm not sure it'll happen, but that would be nice. And thank you very much for your interest. I really appreciate it.
No worries, Michael. All right, you take care. Be well.
You too. Thanks. Bye.
Cheers. Hey, there he is. I told you he was a pretty intense guy. But he opened up, especially in the second half of that conversation. Found some things he enjoyed talking about, and he got off on a couple of tears that were quite interesting. So hope you guys enjoyed that. Again, don't forget to pre-order the new album, birthing at younggodrecords.com. They always sell out. All the Swans vinyl always sell out, and they become very collectible on the secondary market. So get in while you still can at a reasonable price, going straight to younggodrecords.com. Grab your copy and enjoy. And that's it for this episode of The Vinyl Guide. Thank you so much for tuning in. Please share these episodes on social media, Facebook and Instagram. Put them in Reddit forums and Facebook groups. That is hugely appreciated. And a big thanks to everyone who's leaving positive reviews on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. That's a huge help as well. And we'll be back shortly with a brand new episode. So until we talk next time, get out there and buy some records, people. Cheers.